Says last night, I tell you, it brought tears to my eyes, but I'm not going to say any more because I'm going to let Chris Plants have the honor of introducing you.
It's my privilege, Senator, to welcome you here. I too, as representative from the National Organization for Marriage, was so pleased by your leadership last night on marriage, life, family, the social issues, and your understanding that social conservatism leads to fiscal conservatism, and our society needs both, but we lead with the social. And so I just want to hand it to you. Thank you very much for being with us, and we really appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. It's great to be here. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's great to be back on the bus, and it's great to be with Tony and Chris, Marilyn, and one of my favorites. One of my absolute favorites. Judge Gomer. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. You inspire me. Louie's just, he's courageous. I mean, he's a great friend and just a great leader. And you guys are so lucky to be traveling with Louie here today. And I want to thank my friend Gresham Bear for stepping up. He's my chairman down in South Carolina. Gresham served 8 years down in the Congress in South Carolina, and he's stepped forward to help us out in this campaign. And I want to thank him very, very much. In fact, we have about, I don't know what, 15, 20 people from South Carolina that came just to help, because they want to make sure that I'm still in the race, right? So I get to South Carolina. So we've got an equal number from New Hampshire, by the way. We got folks who, actually a couple of carloads that drove from New Hampshire to South Carolina, covering their own expenses because they want to help with the straw poll, because they want to make sure that we're there. If we can get to New Hampshire, get to South Carolina, so we've got a lot of support. And if we can get the people of Iowa, you know, in New Hampshire, they say that Iowans pick corn and that New Hampshire picks presidents. And I would say this, that what Iowa does is really pick the field, because that's what they do. You sort of pick the field. And tomorrow you're going to help pick that field. You're going to narrow the field down tomorrow. And so we need to be out there. And folks who believe in these values need to be out there. And if there's any question about who is going to stand up on the tough questions and not dodge, not try to say, you know, what sounds good, you know, to as many people as you can get, but actually goes out and speaks the truth and stands up and calls people for, you know, calls them out on issues that are, you know, real popular issues right now is run around and say, 10th Amendment, 10th Amendment, 10th Amendment. And I'm a strong supporter of the 10th Amendment, and the 10th Amendment has been rolled repeatedly in Washington, D.C. But the 10th Amendment doesn't allow states to do anything states want to do. Why? Because this country was founded on basic principles. We are in America. We are a melting pot. We are a country that says e pluribus unum. We believe in certain things that our founders established in this country. And I talk about it in every speech I give. I talk about the Declaration of Independence, where rights come from God. That's where they come from in this country. It's different than any other country in the history of the world. We said our rights come to each and every one of us from God. That is the source of our power to govern. Yes, the consent of the governed, but where do the people get that power from which to exercise? It's in keeping and trying to pass laws that is consistent with God's law. God gives you the rights. He doesn't give them to you and says, do whatever you want. He gave them to you and said, well, and look at later on the Declaration, they refer to nature, and nature's God. That we are to live by the natural law and God's laws. That is what, when they talked about the pursuit of happiness, if you go back and read the definition in Webster at the time of the Declaration, or certainly thereafter, what happiness was defined as doing good, doing what is moral. So the pursuit of something ordered and morally good is what our founders were saying, which is, in other words, living your life consistent, taking those rights and living them consistent with God's law. That was the goal and the aim of America. That's what they said. If we did those things, that our country could transform the world and create a society that was better than anything else that had ever been created. And we did it. We had our bumps along the way, but we did it. And now we have a society that wants to drive God out of the public squares. We have a society that wants to take these basic institutions of our society, like marriage, and the basic foundation, the first of all the rights in the Declaration of Independence, life, and erode that. Well, someone has to speak out and remind Americans who we are. Someone has to get up and we have to say that America, as I said last night, is a moral enterprise from our founding. The Constitution is important, but the Constitution without the Declaration is revolutionary France. And revolutionary France crashed and burned because there was nothing, there was not a soul, there was not a God upon which it was founded. It was a secular revolt. It was not a God-centered revolt. Our founders used to talk this way all the time, and it never bothered anybody. Now, people in the press, their pens start to shake when you mention those things. But it's the reality of who we are. We can't forget that. We can't walk away from that. And so I just thank you all for being here. Thank you for this bus tour. And I would encourage everybody here, and you're just a few miles down the road from Ames. Really no reason not to take a little trip down to Ames and vote tomorrow. There's no reason to go and get back home. You got 24 hours where you can call friends, you can go talk to your neighbors. Don't let the folks in Washington, D.C. and in New York and the media tell this country who our president's going to be. And that's exactly what's going on. If you had any question about it, look at what happened last night. And for two-thirds of the debate, I think I got one question. And the second question, I made them ask me. So I can tell you, they are not fond of candidates who talk like I do. Because they don't like to go to the club in New York and hear it from their friends at the club. Well, you belong to different clubs here. It's not the kind of clubs that these folks in the media belong to and represent. You need to go out and speak for America. And you can do that tomorrow. But you need to work. You need to go out in the next 24 hours and find us some votes and get those people to Ames. And you will shake this country up. Thank you all very much, and God bless you.
Thank you, Senator.